At exactly 02:12 hours on the night of July 13th to 14th, 2026, somewhere deep inside the Russian Republic of Bashkortostan, a signal was sent. Not a missile launch, not an artillery salvo. A simple encrypted transmission from the underground resistance network known as Chornaya Iskra, Black Spark, confirming that the approach corridors were clear and the target was ready. What followed in the next 6 hours would complete the most methodical, systematic, and devastating long-range industrial sabotage campaign in the history of drone warfare. And it was executed by aircraft built from plywood, foam wings, and a 2-cylinder engine you could find in a lawnmower. This is not a story about billion-dollar stealth aircraft or carrier strike groups. This is the story of how a nation under siege, outgunned in tanks, outweighed in steel, engineered a campaign that has brought the Russian Federation's domestic fuel supply to the brink of collapse. A campaign that has forced the Kremlin to call India for gasoline. That has sent Russian elites moving their money out of the country. That has now, in the week of July 14th, 2026, struck the very last major refinery on its target list. Every single one. Russia operates 11 major gasoline-producing refineries, Soviet-era industrial complexes that have never been fully modernized. They process tens of millions of metric tons of crude every year into the fuel that powers Russian military vehicles, the convoys feeding 600,000 troops on Ukraine's front line, and the aviation fuel running the Ka-59, Ka-22, and Iskander strike missions against Ukrainian cities. Ukraine recognized it could not win a war of attrition fought tank for tank. Russia had too many men and too much steel. But Russia had one profound vulnerability. Its refining infrastructure was geographically fixed, politically untouchable from the inside, and reachable from the outside if you could build a drone that flew far enough. So they built one. The FP-1, manufactured by a Kiev-based firm called Firepoint, is not elegant hardware. Its load-bearing structure is plywood. Its wings are foam-skinned in fiberglass and carbon fiber. Its wingspan measures roughly 5 meters. It has no landing gear. A solid rocket booster fires it off a truck-mounted launch rail, and a 2-cylinder piston engine, sounding closer to a chainsaw than a jet, carries it the rest of the way. Unit cost, approximately $55,000. Original design range, 1,600 kilometers, with a warhead of up to 60 kilograms. Ukraine's engineers extended that range. On July 6, 2026, multiple FP-1 drones lifted off from classified positions inside Ukraine and began a flight lasting more than 12 hours, crossing Russia's time zones, threading radar coverage gaps that Ukrainian SIGINT teams had spent months mapping, flying at altitudes calibrated to stay beneath the detection threshold of Russia's aging air defense network. Target: the Gazprom Neft Refinery in Omsk, Western Siberia. The largest oil refinery in the Russian Federation, processing more than 22 million metric tons of crude annually, roughly 440,000 barrels per day. And, in Ukraine's military's own words, the last of Russia's 11 largest gasoline producers that had never been hit. They hit it. The drones struck the ELOU-AVT-11 crude processing unit, 8.4 million tons per year, the heart of Omsk's refining capacity. CDU-10, handling 24,580 metric tons per day, was simultaneously destroyed. CDU-11, responsible for a further 37% of output, was shut down when network links vital to its control systems were severed in the attack. NASA thermal satellites recorded multiple fire hotspots at the facility hours later. Black smoke climbed above the northern outskirts of Omsk, visible across the city. The refinery stopped selling gasoline and diesel on the St. Petersburg International Mercantile Exchange the following day. Omsk's regional governor confirmed several drones broke through layers of Russian air defense. He did not confirm the scale of the damage. He did not need to. The satellite imagery said everything. Simultaneously, Ukraine's CUR military intelligence struck the Slavneft Yanos refinery in Yaroslavl, 700 kilometers from the border, in a coordinated same-night package. 2 refineries, 1 night, 2 separate strike vectors. The operational precision required to execute both packages without either alerting Russian air defenses to the other is a level of tactical sophistication most conventional militaries would struggle to achieve. Ukraine achieved it with plywood drones. 8 days later, on the night of July 13th to 14th, Ukraine's Special Operations Forces executed the mission that closed the loop entirely. Target: Gazprom, Neftekhim, Salavat, a massive petrochemical complex in Bashkortostan, 1,400 to 1,500 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. This was not just another refinery. Economic analyst Vyacheslav Shiryaev confirmed it was the last major gasoline producer in Russia not yet struck in 2026. Every other facility on Ukraine's target list had been hit. Salavat was the final item. The mission was executed in direct coordination with Chornaya Iskra, Black Spark, an underground resistance movement operating inside the Russian Federation, providing ground intelligence, route verification, and confirmation of target readiness that no airborne sensor can provide alone. This detail, an organized, operationally active resistance network inside Russia itself, coordinating with Ukrainian Special Operations Forces on precision deep strike missions against strategic infrastructure, represents a security failure of historic significance for the FSB. At approximately 0200 hours, the drones reached Salavat. Local residents reported a series of explosions, followed by thick black smoke rising above the industrial zone and visible from across the city. The AVT-6 primary crude distillation unit, 6 million metric tons per year, was struck and set ablaze. The AVT-4 unit, a further 4 million metric tons, was hit simultaneously. Satellite imagery published 2 days later by the Telegram channels Exilanova Plus and Cyber Baroshno confirmed what the regional governor was denying. All refining units at Salavat had sustained significant damage. Technical trestles, pipelines, and the roof of a key production building in shop number 20 were confirmed destroyed. The Bashkortostan governor stated the attack had been repelled, and fires were caused by debris from downed drones. The satellite imagery stated otherwise. That same night, Ukraine also struck the Afipsky oil refinery in Krasnodar Krai, 400 kilometers from the front line. 2 major Russian refineries burning in a single night, 8 days after Omsk. Ukraine's systematic campaign to eliminate every major gasoline-producing facility inside Russia had reached its final objective. Then came the naval strike. Ukraine's unmanned naval forces deployed the Sargon 3000, an autonomous unmanned combat surface vessel engineered for harbor penetration and precision ship neutralization. Target: the Russian FSB border guard ship Izumrud, moored at Novorossiysk on the northeastern Black Sea coast. The Sargon 3000 reached the harbor. The Izumrud went to the bottom of Novorossiysk port. Russian naval authorities could neither deny the sinking nor adequately explain it to their own chain of command. Simultaneously, Ukrainian unmanned systems forces struck 11 Russian vessels in the Sea of Azov in a single operational package. 5 tankers, 5 dry cargo ships, and 1 tug. In one night, 2 refineries ablaze deep inside Russia, an FSB ship sunk inside a Russian naval base, and 11 vessels disabled in the Sea of Azov. Russia acknowledged none of it in full. The cascading consequences are already being reported. Russia is now turning to India for additional gasoline supplies, according to ISW assessment, dated July 16th, as Ukraine's long-range strike campaign continues to reduce domestic refining capacity. Russian elites are reportedly moving money abroad to protect financial assets from both the deteriorating Russian economy and the Kremlin's effort to nationalize private assets to fund the war. These are not the actions of people who believe the official line. These are the actions of people who have read the satellite imagery. On the front line, Russia launched 8 Iskander-M/S-400 ballistic missiles, 4 22/32 cruise missiles, and 146 drones against Ukraine overnight on July 15th to 16th, exploiting the depletion of Ukraine's anti-ballistic missile interceptor stocks, calibrating its strike packages to overwhelm a defensive system running on empty. Meanwhile, Polish authorities are warning that Russia is conducting active surveillance of NATO air defense integration exercises near the Baltic Sea, flagged internally as Phase 0 preparation, ahead of a potential false flag or hybrid operation. The same shadow fleet doctrine, enabling sanctions evasion in the Gulf, is now probing NATO's northern perimeter. Do you believe Ukraine's deep strike campaign has already changed the strategic trajectory of this war? Comment below. Here is what this week proves. Russia has 1 million men under arms, hypersonic missiles, nuclear weapons, and the full industrial weight of a 140 million person economy behind its war effort. And Ukraine, with a $55,000 drone built from plywood, flying 3,000 kilometers on a 2-cylinder engine, guided by an underground network of resistance fighters operating inside Russia's own borders, just set fire to the last piece of that economy's energy spine. Black spark burns inside Russia. Omsk is offline. Salavat is in flames. The Izumrud is on the floor of Novorossiysk harbor. The Kremlin is calling India for fuel. Its elites are moving their money. And on the roads and fields of Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Zaporizhzhia, the battle continues. Day 1,600-something of a war that was supposed to last 3 days. Stay sharp, stay informed. In modern warfare, victory is not always measured in territory gained. Sometimes it is measured in what your enemy cannot produce. Ukraine has just completed that ledger. Every major Russian refinery now has a check mark. What Russia does in the Baltic next week may tell us whether that ledger is enough. Would you like me to break down the full technical architecture of Ukraine's FP-1 deep strike drone network, and exactly how it penetrated Russian air defenses from 3,000 kilometers away?